Hi, this is Muthusangaram again. Session 9, Business Incubation, Managing the Incubator, Part 1. As always, let's take 30 seconds to write down what you'd like to achieve at the end of this session. Okay, let's continue. Managing the incubator. It's a very challenging job to manage the incubator, and the demands are very high on the functions. So it's quite difficult to manage an incubator. So we need to be well prepared. Operations would be effectively managed for achieving the marketing and financial goals we set out to. Incubators must be efficient in balancing the various goals which it has defined for itself. Incubators should have the entrepreneurial attitude for the business services and products it's trying to built in the incubator. It should maintain the productivity relationship between the incubator and incubatee. So there should be good relationship built between the incubator and incubatee. So it's very, very important in order to be able to manage the incubator in a good way. Now, selecting the incubator clients. First of all, you need to make sure, unless you have incubatees, your incubator can't run. So, to run it efficiently, you need to make sure you have a good process of selecting them. And these clients will have to match the ability with the incubator's mission and resources. An effective selection process needs to be implemented, and it has to be up for the right choice of clients, because this will make your managing of the incubator much, much more easier if you have the right clients. You should select the clients through expert panels and committee. This is to avoid any unnecessary confusion or complaints when the incubators are rejected or selected. So having an external committee to external experts to do this makes it easier for the incubator to do so. The entry criteria are very important. You need to get a wide range of clients and make sure there's enough synergy, and there shouldn't be direct competition between each other, so this would make your life more difficult if there's too much in in inbound competition. So you need to make sure there's enough synergy between the lot of them and there's no direct competition, and to enhance the synergy. Incubators should be determined within the sector and technology that the incubator is trying to serve. So that's very, very important. The client should be at the initial stages of their business. The entry requirement should match the mission and goals of the incubator. Now, the recommended entry criteria. Commitment level of the company founders and their entrepreneurial skills are very, very important. Experience and capability of the company's management team is also important. But of course, we're working with startups, so these two could be lacking. But there should be potential of growth, and they should have definitely knowledge of market potential and their competitors. Most startups struggle. They don't check out their competition or market opportunities before getting in. So the incubators should be able to guide them to do this. And it should also help them in getting effective business model for developing potential products. There should be innovation towards their product, and there should be financial viability and capability to generate revenues. And the business networking ability should be there for all the startups. So it makes the startup successful. Now, entry criteria for technology-based incubators. You need to look at the opportunities they're developing. The market, is it viable? The management should have high quality and capable to develop one, and they should have financial viability and ability to raise finances. The strategy for technology protection via intellectual property is another important area the startups will need to learn and understand what to do, because IP filing can be expensive. So they need to make sure they file the right IP so their funding is well maintained. Willing to agree the business model of the incubator should be competitive with other internal incubators, and the company should have compliance to its legislations, and they should have not have detrimental impact towards society. So they should be doing something which is going to help the society at large and not be detrimental to it. So this is the job of the incubator to ensure these criteria are followed. So the selection committee should be panel, should have entrepreneurial attitude. Even if they're not entrepreneurial, they should have entrepreneurial attitude. Panel members may be from the incubator network, like directors, mentors, coaches, investors, There could even be mature startups could be part of this committee. Should be from diverse range of expertise, which will include technical, business, financial, marketing, stakeholder management, and human resources. So you get better selection panel. Members should have associated with incubators in an advisory role. So they should have some kind of experience working with the incubator. So that's very, very important. Now, general questions from the panel should be, what is the problem statement they're trying to solve with their services and products? They should talk about what is currently available. They need to talk about what are the competitive advantages and what are the benefits they're going to give to their customers, and what are the financial streams, how are they going to make money, and the capability of the company to raise revenue. So these are some of the questions the evaluating panel would ask. And questions on evaluating the market. First thing, you need to look at what target market they are looking at for their services and product. Is there enough volume for this potential market, and how are they going to distribute this, and how will their sales and marketing perspective, how will they generate this, and packing aspects of the product. Often products don't get very far because they are poor in terms of packaging. So it's important to have a good packaging to excite the potential customer to buy. Now, questions on the team management and financial. First thing, you need to require funding. How much funding do they need? And the time required for the company to break even. This is something which we need to understand. Required skills to develop the services of the product. If they don't have technical skills, what are they going to do? How are they going to manage? Experience in business operation. If they don't have, how will they get this happening? Does the team possess members with required skill set? If not, what are they going to do? And how are they going to get these resources in order for their activities to run? So these are some of the questions we need to ask before bringing them in. Now we need to focus on areas of selection. First, we need to assess the business idea of the applicant. We need to see whether there are entrepreneurial potentials, and is the idea a business idea? Is there enough potential? Agreement on equity and expected outcomes should be prepared. They should be able to tell you all this. And should they cover criteria for graduation and for reasons of terminating the client? Graduation is good, termination is bad. So we need to be able to explain these to them and focus on the selection. So we have more graduation and less termination. Should provide awareness to the client on the milestones to be achieved. So it's very, very important. The incubator should understand its milestone and they should deliver the milestones. Now, importance of the selection process. It has to be sustainable through improving the selection process of incubators. So the incubator should have the potential for the incubator's business model. So we should be able to sustain the incubator by the success of the incubators. Selection should be based on the incubator's business model, services, or products to be developed, and the team, including the entrepreneur. Incubators can enter a pre-incubation phase as the basis for planning their project. So all this is what is important for the incubator to work on. Now, an agreement of incubation. Once you've agreed to incubate them, you need to have an agreement signed between the incubator and the incubator. This should cover things like what they can use, what are you going to offer to them, and it is advisable to maintain an agreement separately according to the function. So you don't have any unnecessary disagreements. Separate agreements can be maintained for office rental if you have, or for services. It's all up to you how you do it, but you should have it all clearly defined in this agreement. So that's very, very important. Components in the incubation agreement. First, what facilities you're going to provide them. How will they pay for these services? Would they give you equity? Would they give you rental? What are the terms and conditions on the contract duration? What are the policies for graduation and exit? Methods for setting up targets and monitoring the development of their project is important. It's what you need to learn. And now, acceptance of incubators. Incubators, after the acceptance to the incubator, should have an orientation meeting. You should give them a handbook if we have one, or you have SOP, you should share it with them. The handbook will then provide all the necessary policies the incubator is following. The incubator should be introduced to the incubator's mission and vision. So they will work towards achieving your missions and visions for the incubator. It should list all the services and facilities provided and ways to access the same. So all this is very, very important. The incubator has to make sure all this is documented. Following through, focus on milestones. We need to make sure they are reaching and accomplishing certain levels of business plans. So we need how are they going to add new members accordingly? They are receiving IP protection, competing training from venture capitals, securing initial phase investments, partnering with the other key players and suppliers. All these should be focused into the milestones. And then graduate and exit. As I said earlier, graduation is a positive thing. So eventually they need to graduate. Otherwise, your incubator cannot grow. So they will have to graduate. An exit is when there's negative. They're not doing nothing. They're wasting your time and funds which you're investing on them. So you make them depart your incubator. Exits can be considered when their company is declining in its performance. So all this is important. Company which does not utilize the service from incubator and does not reach the target milestones. So these are some of the things you as an incubator will have to look at. Now, decisions on exit and graduation. Graduation can be applied if a company has reached a target milestone. So you might say once you get 100 customers, you can graduate, or you reach a value, target value, $1 million sales, or you have 20 staff, you have to move out because space runs out. So these are some of the activities you need to emphasize. What are the parameters you're going to use? Exit can be considered the business that is not in sustainable state. So you got to get rid of them. They're not sustainable. So you should not waste time. Sometimes it's based on the entrepreneur's opinion to leave or stay. So there might be some misunderstanding, some disconnect between the incubator and the startup entrepreneur. Then they will exit or they will graduate. You need to have all this built into your agreement. So that doesn't happen. You need to ensure all this are taken care of. Now, criteria for graduation. As I already said, size of the company and the experience of management could play a role. Company's turnover could be another one. Significant sales of their products could say, okay, now you can leave. If the company doesn't require the services from your incubator further, they might have already bought their own office space. They might have got enough services on their own. They don't need your services. Then they are right to go. And they require amount of space which exceeds the capacity of the incubator. Most incubators will give four to six spaces. So if they need more than these spaces, they may have to move out to another place. So these are some of the criteria for graduation. Now, after graduation, you still have to monitor them because you should still support them. Firms should be monitored effectively after graduation to enhance the performance of the incubator. So at least you can talk about these if you keep monitoring. And this monitoring should last probably anything between 1 year onwards. And it's always good to have a net of alumni, so you can always invite them back to get their support, their services. They might even be able to help you in terms of funding because they're successful. All this is very important. Can perform surveys annually with the graduate incubators to evaluate the prospects for future cooperation like business support and mentoring. So all this is extremely important. Extremely important. The board of directors, these are the people in your board who will help you to provide management and development guidance to the incubator. They will share their experience. They will set the goals for the incubator. They will also maintain synergies between the management and also the board to make sure the incubator is growing. So it is very important. Now the role of the board of directors, first to establish missions, visions and values for the incubator, then setting up the structure, how it will operate, then delegating the authority from the board level to the incubator so the incubator team can function freely, and they will be then accountable and responsible is the next thing we need to do. So they need to be accountable to the stakeholders and they should contribute to the financial management of the incubator. Make sure the incubator is able to raise money, is spending the money in the right way, and primarily keeping the books clean. Now, consideration for selecting the board. The members should represent the incubator stakeholders. These could be government officials, could be faculty members, could be past alumni, like I say. So they should be bringing in networking and business knowledge to the incubator. And they should have skills in law, marketing, finance, multiple activities. And they should be willing to help the incubated clients and manage for positive results. So their job is mentoring, supporting, and so forth. Should be committed to the objective of the incubator and involvement in promoting the incubator at the same time. The function of the incubator manager, it should be managing the team who are in the incubator, managing the services provided by the incubators and its infrastructure, deals with stakeholders, clients, board of directors, and public authorities, act as the primary point of care between the incubator and the clients. So they should be the face of the incubator, helping the incubator build its reputation between the incubator and the clients. If the manager and the clients don't get along, your incubator is going to be in trouble. So you got to make sure the person you bring in has got good interpersonal skills, is able to talk, and the incubators are willing to listen and work together. So these are some of the important skills we need. Now, quality of an incubator manager should be entrepreneurial. His attitude should be entrepreneurial, should not be too bureaucratic. He should be able to take risks, take a call for decisions. He should be able to integrate towards clients, stakeholders, and investors, bring them all together. It should have experience in innovation and entrepreneurship to manage the startups, networking, and interpersonal skills. Very important for a manager. Knowledge on early stage investment so he can guide them, or she can guide them. Good understanding with clients and business counseling skills. So this helps them to move forward. Now, attributes of an incubator manager should be flexible, very, very important. They should be committed to the project, meaning to the incubator, driven towards success, outcome, and achievement, should be passionate and entrepreneurial, and also enthusiastic to the mission of the incubator. Skills for public relations and market are very important. Many of us find this very difficult to do. So the incubator manager needs to work on this, be able to do this, bring public relationship marketing together, experience and knowledge and sector focus by the incubator. So the incubator is working in biotechnology. The manager should have some knowledge in biotechnology. Medical devices, it should have some expertise and experience in that, so he can share his knowledge or her knowledge with the incubator. Now, hiring the appropriate manager, statements on terms of reference for incubator. First of all, the expectation for the incubator manager to manage the incubator. So he should be very clear what is expected from him. The scope and objective of the incubator manager must be defined. The initial roles, responsibility must be defined. Required experience and qualification. Setting the type, duration, and the salary for the employment. So these are some of the important things we need to free him before hiring a incubation manager. So all this is important. What would the management team of the incubator do? Besides the manager, we need to have some training executives who can do training. We need to have a technology manager who can support the incubator manager in order of technology. We need to have somebody who manages the financials. And in the event we are having accommodation, then we need to have a person who will manage logistics and management. So all this is what makes your team. Now, the relationship between the board and the manager is very important. The calibers of board members and the incubator manager is critical. If they don't get along, it's going to have ineffective. If the manager doesn't, it will drive away the ineffective board because he will overpower them and the board is no good. If the high quality board and you have a weak manager, same thing will happen. The manager will quit because the board is overpowering. So it's important to make sure they're both of experience, value, of high quality. The board member should support the incubator as a representative for private and public partnership. And the competent incubator manager is also crucial for the incubator. So he is able to operate, or she is able to operate independently of the board and only use the board as a sounding board and require or advise brainstorming as a sounding board and so on, not depending on the board for day-to-day management. So these are all very, very important things that incubator manager and the board will have to ensure it happens. Now, services offered by the incubator. First, assessment and analyzing of marketing, financials, and technical aspects. We've talked about this in the past. So they need to do services to develop entrepreneurial skill sets. They need to help them in business modeling, business planning. They also help them how to raise money, because no money, the business can't last. They should also help them in terms of mentoring, coaching during the initial stage of development. Establish networks between the knowledge center and the companies. Bring innovation to companies from an incubator. So all these are important. Now, challenges the business incubator would have. Salary scales are lower compared to the private sector. So if the person is not interested in incubation or entrepreneurship, he will not perform well. The administrative procedure of incubator prevents them to be a role model for entrepreneurs. So these are some of the challenges. You should not have too many rules. So the manager is flexible. So they have the freedom of operating, risk and losing focus to serving its clients by focusing more time on the stakeholders. So this has to be cautious. So the manager should be able to draw a balance between the host institution and the incubators, and also the people who give you grants. So all that has to be taken care of properly. So the challenges of the incubator are in place. Now, as always, what is next? You need to identify what your key takeaway from my lecture today and how does it relate to you and how are you going to share it with others, because the whole point of these lectures is so we can share and grow the knowledge in this area of incubation. That's really in build a good ecosystem in in our surroundings, not just in India, but wherever we are. We should build an ecosystem so the ecosystem can proliferate and build bigger and better entrepreneurs. So that's very important. As always, as good entrepreneurs, we say we have made references in preparing this PPT on the InfoDev Business Information Toolkit. So that's what we use as a reference tool. And this is how you contact me as always, Muthu Singram. Muthu.singram@vibrozone.com. My mobile number is there. We have a couple of books on Amazon. You key in my name, they would come up, and you know you're my YouTube channel because you're watching on this. Please share the YouTube channel and get others to support us. And if you think you can contribute to the channel, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy for your contribution. And as always, Thank you for your time, and I look forward to my next section soon. Thank you.